everybody. Welcome to my first ever SERGE-A-THON. This is going to be fun. This is going to be a long day, but it's all good. We're going to have a good time today. And we're going to see how many quilt tops we can get made in one day. I have everything staged out, ready to go. I have to get myself threaded up here. And boy, howdy. This is a little different than the way I normally do a live stream. So welcome, welcome, welcome everybody. I have to get threaded up here and then we're going to get started serging. Uh-oh. I may have just broke something. It's all good, I think. There we go. Just want to get my camera angle down. There we go. We're going to try that. Okay. Oops, now you can't see me, but that's okay. Just raise it a little bit. Okay. That might be better. There we go. Okay. Can see this. Good. Ooh-wee. So I'm having to change out my thread colors to start with. So that's where I'm going to get going. I'm going to change from my black to my cream. Have some older Serger thread I'm wanting to get used up. And all that fun stuff. Everyone's having a lovely morning. It is cold here in central Illinois. That's for darn sure. I'm going to kick my shoes off though. Okay, let's see here. I need to snip this. And I'm only going to have one camera angle today, and I'm already having, well, everybody who knows me knows about one of these camera mounts I've had issues with. And I will have to be changing that today at some point. But it's all good. Okay, and I'm rattling. Oh, hello. Good morning, Linda. Hi, Beverly. Hi, Mara. Hi, Carol. Awesome. Hi, T-Dove. Hi, Christina. So, yes. So, I already have my jelly roll right here. Okay. Now, this is out of a bag of my jelly roll stash where I've cut 2.5-inch strips from leftover remnant ends off of bolts. So these are all in blues. There's 40 strips here, and I'm going to do a regular jelly roll quilt top. I have quite a lot of this stuff set out, and that's where I'm starting at today. Don't know where I'm going to end up. I'm going to make each one I do just a little bit different, and some of them will not even be the jelly roll like we did on Altair Angels. So let me get going here and getting threaded. I'm just going to do a 4-thread overlock. Go. Now the thread path is ready for some new thread. Lower looper. There's the lower looper. Now I'm going to do the upper looper. I'm just going to do the basic jelly roll quilt. This is going to be my warm-up quilt so that I can get fully awake I haven't had enough coffee yet to talk normally, so I'm sorry. But it's all good. Let's see here. Now I'm going to do needle O2, my rightmost overlock needle. Get that one threaded next. Click. And here we go. I was able to get that one without using the threader. I'll use a threader on this second one. Okay. Alrighty. Should have these cones completely emptied at some point today, because I'm going to make a bunch of quilt tops. They won't all be based on the jelly rolls, but a large part of them are. I'm going to do the regular jelly roll. At some point I'm going to do a rail fence on the using 2.5-inch strips. That makes it so much easier. There we go. Now I'm going to put on my clear foot. This is what I like to use to piece with, is this clear foot. You can see right through it, tell right where your fabrics are. Okay. So my machine set, I'm ready to start serging. Yeehaw. I have my stitch selector at A, overlock position on my wave overlock connector. I have my stitch width at the letter M, and I have my stitch length at 3. And I am ready to start piecing. It's that easy to do. The great thing about piecing with a serger, guess what? You never have to fill a bobbin, because your bobbin is an entire cone of thread. Okay. And this camera is going to give me fits. I can see that already. So I'm going to move it, change the position a little bit. There we go. It's going to come right over here. Sorry about this, folks. Okay. And I'm going to go grab the tripod and get it over here and ready. Be right back. Okay. Almost there. Almost there. Okay. Okay. Oh, awesome. Hi, Bruce. Okay. All right. Woohoo. Nothing like getting your adrenaline going, having to move a bunch of wires around. But here we go. We're going to get started on quilt top number 1, which is lovingly referred to as a 1600 quilt. 40 strips, 40 2.5-inch strips equal 1,600 linear inches of fabric. And that's why it's called the 1600 quilt. And we're going to get started. Okay. And let's just try one more camera angle before I do start the surgeon. Okay. There we go. That might be a good one to do too. So we're going to leave that one right there for right this second. Get the one completely out of my face. Okay, so here we go. I've pre-sorted these so all like color, like fabrics will be sewn one right after another. So here we go. 40 2.5-inch strips of fabric equals one quilt top. Alrighty. And I'm just going to get started. The first strip, I'm going to cut it in half. Mirror you. Guess I should have grabbed a sharper pair of scissors while I was up too. Well, I'll get that on my first break. So, the first half of strip that I start with, I'm going to put it to the side because I'm not using it. So here's my firstie, and I'm just going to start serging these all together in one big long continuous piece. I can see right now I have to move my microphone cord or I'll rip it off of my shirt as the fabric starts moving. There we go. Okay, that's good. Now we're going to get started. Okay. So, right sides together, and then I'm just going to chain piece all of these 40 strips as I'm going in one big long continuous piece. This is a fun one here. It's kind of denim colored with diamonds and card symbols on it, and oh, wait a minute now. Is all this right? Make sure everything. I guess I should check my stitches before I get too far. Nope, that was a perfect. Yeehaw. All is good. Okay. And I'm going to move this up here in feeding position now that we're all set up. And we're off. We have officially begun. Everything is set up. And we're going to get all 40 of these strips sewn together lengthwise. Now, some of you have already seen me do this, but this is what I'm calling my warm-up quilt top for today's SERGE-A-THON, 16 hours. It will end at approximately midnight tonight, Central Standard Time. This is an ombre. See how it's shades go in and out? That's kind of cool fabric, right? Well, that's what I'm using next. These are totally, I would totally consider this one, it is going to be a scrappy quilt, because these did not come pre-packaged in a jelly roll. It's what extra strips from other projects and remnants from bolts that I cut up into 2.5-inch strips, and then I just put them in a bag. And I still have a lot in that bag. We'll see if I have to dig back into it tonight. Maybe not. Let's see here. Hopefully I haven't got none of these twisted. I'm still not fully awake. I used to be a morning person. I would get up at 4 or 5 o'clock every morning, commute into the office, and then fight rush hour traffic at 5 p.m. Denver time. This was Denver, Colorado. And fight rush hour traffic trying to get home every night. So, but now, especially since COVID hit, and this pandemic stuff, I'm not the morning person I used to be. And that's okay. I do find I get way more accomplished if I will just set an alarm and get up. Like I did this morning at 6:37, something like that. That's when I got up. What's really great about doing this on a serger is that the cutting blade, it actually cuts the selvages off while I'm piecing. So that eliminates an entire step of the process right there. There's the selvage. It's really cold here, but the sun is really shining bright, so that makes it a little more bearable, I guess. For so many days here in north central Illinois, I think it was almost 2 weeks without seeing the sun, and that's kind of hard to cope with. I like seeing the sunlight. I don't care if it is 0 degrees or below 0. At least let me see the sunlight, please. Okay. That's some cute fabric. Check out the pattern in this fabric. It's really, make a nice shirt too, but check that out. Pretty cool, right? Have no idea how this is going to turn out. That's the great thing about a jelly roll quilt like this. It's kind of a serendipitous surprise at the end. And I like that. I really do. I like serendipity in my quilting. I had several of these. Wow. Okay. And as you've probably figured out, I really kind of stuck with a blue theme for this particular this particular quilt top. I thought it would look nice. All different shades, some light, some super bright, so we'll see how it ends up. Just had one strip of this though, but that's really cute. I really like that fabric. Porcelain. Yeah. Not enough writing in the selvage to tell what manufacturer that one came from. And this is like a blender, a cotton blender. I have several strips of this. Oop. Okay. Trying to keep my eye on the chat board also whilst I'm doing this. I really like this marbled fabric. I really like that too. Love the, it looks like it's got texture in it. It's kind of cool. Totally dig that. And that is, don't know which one that's from. Maybe one of the other strips will show me. Let's see. No. No luck on that one. I know these fabric strips were from fabric collections from probably 3 to 4 years ago. Something like that. Probably more like 2 to 3 years ago. I don't know. This one's kind of cosmic. Those are actually, the fabric had Aurora Borealis lights in it. Probably going to put in some new needles. I was sewing heavy elastic on here yesterday, and I'm going to have to change needles out at some point here because it's making just a little bit of a noise. So you can hear that click. Yeah, I'm going to put new needles. As soon as I finish this run, I'm going to put 2 new needles in. And that should clear that little clicky sound right up. Let's see here. And here we go. Here's another one. Oh, wait a minute. That one is really narrow. I'd miscut that when I cut that one. So that one will go to the side. Well, that'll be interesting because that'll mean I'm one strip short. I may have to go to my goodie bag and dig out another strip here at the very end. These are yummy blueberries. Love this fabric too. Check this out. Right there. Pretty cool blueberries. Okay. And if you've watched many YouTube videos, I'm sure you've heard this before. So I'm just going to say it. If you like what you're seeing, please hit the subscribe button and right next to it, the bell. And that way you'll be notified when my next YouTube live is scheduled and getting ready to start. I'm going to be doing a variety of YouTube lives. Lives. My next one is going to be on spinning fiber into yarn. That is my next live video that I'm going to get on my YouTube schedule. I'm sitting here in my studio in our little quilt and fiber shop here in North Central Illinois. It's called Fiber Fair. We're located in Henry, Illinois. Twisty, twisty, not a good thingy. It's pretty hard to mess up the first run on this. The others, yeah, you can get them out of whack. But in our little shop, it's a small quilt shop, and we have yarn, spinning and weaving supplies, spinning wheels, knitting, crochet hooks from Norway, lots of really fun and cool stuff. And we're always getting new stuff in too. I'm slowly getting everything put on our website, www.quiltsbydale.com, where if you don't live close, you can still shop with us. Getting close to the first one being over with. Getting this first run done, and then I'm going to walk over to the ironing board and grab one more strip of fabric. Here we go. Here we go. This is the last one of this. This is a really cool, it's like a blue bamboo. Check that out. There we go. Okay. And I'm going to add one more strip of fabric to this. I'll be right back. There we go. Okay. And one more strip of fabric. And that does equal 40 strips. This clippy back on here. And now, the really fun part, I get to cut all of these strips I've sewn together apart so they're one continuous long strip. So, I'm going to take the end of the one that I just finished on And I'm going to put it under the presser foot to hold it in place. And then as I'm pulling these off of here, I'm going to move this a little bit, try to get a little bit better view for you. Because if you take a little bit of extra time doing this, life becomes oh so much easier. So my goal is to not get it twisted so I have a knot in it when I start sewing it back together. So I'm going to clip several apart. I'm just going to work them off. And I'm going to pull them off and put them into a nice tidy pile down here on the floor beside me. Okay? And I want this face down. Because when I get to the other end, I'm going to layer it right up here and then sew the edges of the whole thing together in half. So I'm going to pull it with the fabric face down, nice and straight. And this is the only way I know to keep it nice and even. So here we go. And this isn't bad. This doesn't take that long to do. It's part of the fun. It's part of the experience. 2, 3, 4, 5. The thing is, if I keep this in the same orientation as I'm pulling it through my hands, it'll line up perfectly without there being a twist at the end of my next run. And if that happens, it's okay. It's easy to fix. It usually happens at least once to me, and I've done this a bazillion times. Seems like, anyway. It's one of my favorite ways, though, to make a fast and easy quilt top. Because you can literally do this in about 2 hours, just make one of these tops. So my goal today is to make a minimum of 8 quilt tops. That's what I'm shooting for today. Might be more, but I will do at least 8. Some of the others are a little slower than this, because I'll have to take some of these strip sets I make over to the cutting table and cross cut them, but you'll see what I mean later on today about that. And we're going. We're moving. Woohoo. There's the next cut. And there we go. During this stage, I also like to make sure that I actually did sew all of these strips together with the right sides together. I have done that before too. I may have done that at the very beginning. We'll find out here in just a couple of minutes. But it's okay if you do. You just cut it apart and re-sew the seam together. It's not the end of the world. Thing about it, doing it on the serger makes that step pretty darn easy. Easy peasy. There we go. There you go. Okay. And another one. Back to that beautiful blue ombre. That's really a beautiful color. That color graduation is really nice. Oh, we're getting super close to the end. But I mean super close. I mean super duper close. Woohoo! Yeehaw! Okay, let's cut that one apart. And there we go. Now, by keeping it like this, face down in the palm of this hand, when I get here to the end, I can just lay it right on top of the piece from the other end. And it's ready to roll. It's ready to sew. We're going to sew all of those back together down this one long raw edge of the strip, the whole length. So by sewing them all together end to end, that gave us approximately 1,600 inches in length. So this seam will be 800 inches in length. And as we keep doing this and progressing down, it'll be cutting the length of that down approximately in half each time we go. I'm going to get me a sip of coffee here, clean up my scraps. There's all my little selvage scraps. And we'll be ready to do round number 2. That was round number 1. And here we go. Okay. Excuse me. Oh, that's right. I need to change my needles. Last night I was sewing some elastic onto a garment. So I want to change my needles out real quick because if you heard it earlier, it was making a little bit of a noise. So it needs a couple of new needles in it. Now this is a Baby Lock Triumph Serger. And this is my go-to needle for it right here. It's a size 80-12 Type J ELX705. Those are the needles that the Triumph Serger uses. The magic number to look for is right there, ELX705. There's several different types of ELX705s. This is the one I use the most. It just works for me. Okay, so there's my 2 needles. I'm going to swap out my needles real quick, which means I'll have to rethread my needles, but that's okay. Do this real quick. Then we'll be good to go for the rest of the day as far as threading, changing needles, and serging and all that. Okay. I don't have to unthread my loopers because they're already threaded. Now let me just swap out these 2 needles. This will not take long. Okay, those are in. Now there's one. I just threw it in the waste basket. Those two needles have sewn a lot of stuff this last week, let me tell you. They earned their keep. Okay. There we go. There's one in. This will be needle number 2. Big thing about changing a needle, whether it's in a serger or a sewing machine, you want to make sure they're fully inserted all the way up. Otherwise, you're not going to get a good stitch formation. There we go, right there. There we go. Okay. And you can always know if you have them fully up because the needle to the left is higher up in that needle bar than the needle to the right. So they're angles. So the tips, this is your left needle, your right needle, they're kind of like that. They're not even at the bottom. So that's something to always look at when you're putting in needles in your serger. They should never be level with each other. If they are, something is off somewhere. Okay. So, now I'm going to get my needles threaded. And with this Triumph serger, it's pretty easy to do. There's one needle threaded because it has air threading for the needles as well as the loopers. And all you do, once you push that threader down, you just hold the thread in front of the eye of the needle, and the air pulls it right on through that eye for you. Easy peasy. And now, that should have got rid of that noise I was hearing. Because now we are ready to start serging again, woohoo. And we're going to get started and get round number 2 on this quilt top completed. The first one takes the longest. Each one in succession takes half as long as the previous round. So here we go. Here we go. No, wait a minute now. Yes, that's right. Okay. Bring you up. Perfect. And with the settings I have on the machine, I'm just letting this raw edge barely graze the cutting blade. And that will give me a perfect 1/4 inch seam. You could raise the blade, but it acts as a good marker to make sure you keep it right where it's supposed to be. Okay. That took out that little clicking noise. So once you learn how to listen to your machine, whether it's a sewing machine or a serger or a quilting machine, it'll talk to you. The sounds that they make have pretty distinctive sounds, and that's how you'll know when it's time to change needles and stuff like that, just by listening to them. And all I'm doing is just lining it up. I'm not watching the needles, I'm watching back here. Making sure everything gets lined up back here, and it'll just glide right on through. What I like to do here, I just like to pull these up together from my pile and place them in my lap as I go. It just seems to me it makes it, you don't have all that drag on it as it's coming up off the floor. And you're just kind of pre-getting them in the right orientation to feed them through the machine. Easy peasy. See how much nice and smooth that went? Went so smoothly through. Just by taking a little time. Oops, come back here, you. And not getting them perfectly lined up, but getting them in the right orientation to feed through the machine makes a world of difference. There we go. These quilts, you make using this technique, because they piece up so quickly, you can actually have them completely pieced, quilted, and the binding on in one day, literally. And they make great gifts. They make great charity quilts. I'll be talking more about that in a future video about charity quilts and stuff. Move that back a little bit. I was getting a big pile right there, wasn't I? And no, I don't press until after this type of quilt. I do not press it until the quilt top is completely done. There's truly no need to. Okay, time to line some more up. Oh, I see the end. Woohoo! Round number 2. It's getting close. Okay. All right. And no twist. So there's the end of it right there. And see how it lines up perfectly? So when I talk about getting a twist in it, sometimes it can have a knot in it right here if you don't have everything lined up perfectly from the beginning. But we don't have to worry about that on this one. I'm going to finger press this where this meets, right here where it's doubled over, because I'm going to snip this. And there we go. And after all of that, that's all of my trimmings right there, is that little bit. That's all the trimmings I got. Okay, so I'm going to grab my larger scissors because I don't. Those have a curve to them, and I don't want to put a curve into this cut. You walk right over here. I'll be right back. Alrighty. Then all I'm going to do is see here, I've serged it to the edge, and now see this little fold right here. I'm just going to cut it with my scissors right here like this, just up to the seam, not through it. And then when I open it up, check it out. Got a nice straight edge. All right. And now we're going to do the slippy slidey thing all the way back down. And this time it gets a little bit trickier. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to keep these folded in half this time. Okay. And as I'm pulling off, I'm going to keep my seam lines and the seam over here to the right as I pull it off into the floor. Okay? So I just want to make sure I pull it off in this manner right here. The seam line is up here towards this part of my hand. And I'm just going to go like this all the way down. And we're almost there. That one was much quicker than the first one. And there it is, the end of round number 2. Now we're moving to round number 3. Woohoo! So, here's where you have to be a little careful. If you mess up, Lord knows I do all the time. So, right there is how they would line up on top of each other. So, we're going to open this one up on top, and it would go like that. And then we're going to open this one up. Come on. Right there. And those should fit right there like that together. They fit, but we'll know when we get to the other end if we have a twist or not. I don't think we will. And then we're going to seam down this one side, all the way back down, and keep on going. Keep on keeping on. It's the name of the game. Okay. Now here I'll bring some up into my lap, but we'll have to open these up as we go. Gives me some to work with. Keep adding these on all the way to the end. And what I've just done now, as you can see, you just repeat this process until you end up with 32 strips sewn together. Okay? That's the magic number. So you're actually going to do this 2, 4, 8, 2, 4, 8, 16. 5 times. There's 5 steps, I think. I always get confused when I try to count it in my head, especially this without having enough caffeine. Yes, I blame everything on lack of caffeine, can't you tell? It's all good. Okay. Here we go. Check something out here real quick. Okay. And we're going to keep on keeping on. I like saying that. I also call these type of quilt tops, it's a serendipitous type of quilt top. Because you never really know what it's going to look like until you get done. That's part of the fun, right? That is part of the fun. Now the next one I do, I'm going to use a commercially packaged pack of jelly rolls. And that way you can see the difference. These were out of my scrap bags. All of these. And by scraps, I mean I cut all the strips for this one out of end bolt remnants. Actually, with these, some of these will be charity quilts, but some of these will be next year's holiday presents. So I'm getting an early start. A real early start on my Christmas sewing. Make wonderful birthday and wedding gifts. There's so much you can do with them, oh my goodness. Okay. Get some more of this pulled up. Here we go. Get this one finished, I'm gonna put the next one I do, I'm gonna put at a different camera angle. From the opposite side of the serger. side of the serger. Change that after this run. I think I will. I think I will, Mike. Yes, I will. We're getting there. We're over halfway done with this, with round number 3. This is our third round. Yes, third round. Our 6th step, our 3rd step, round number 3. Feel free to ask any questions in the chat menu. I am keeping my eye on it. Oh, good morning, Dawn. And we are on round number 3 of our jelly roll quilt. Round number 3. Woohoo! Yes, so Alexis, in the beginning, I don't use when I'm piecing the strips together, I just make sure I cut off the selvages. I don't use any set seam allowance. There's no set seam allowance on that. Not on the very first. Because the goal of that way you don't have to physically cut off the allowances. So that very first one, it can vary. It could be a 1/4 inch to a 1/2 inch. It really doesn't matter on that one. For instance, the first step on this one I'm working on right now, here are some of my cuttings. Check it out. There's what I trimmed off while I was sewing strips together, right there. That's about 1/2 inch. It doesn't matter. The goal is to get the selvages completely cut off and trimmed off. After that, everything is a 1/4 inch. looky there, we're getting close. I don't want to look yet to see if I have the dreaded twist knot, but we'll see. We'll see here in just a second. The end of round 3 is coming up. On this particular quilt. There to see. And I got the twist in it. Yes, I did, didn't I? Let me just make sure here. That opened up. Yep, so as you can see, there's a twist in it, so I'm just going to have to eyeball it and cut it and then trim it. So, once you get a twist in the end, and when you do one of these, you will know exactly what I'm talking about. See how I just did that? Just snipped it. Now I can undo the twist, sew it together. Boy, and that was really close. I mean, I'm off like 1/8 of an inch. But that 1/8 of an inch is important, so. Now I'm going to have to trim this edge. So when I open this up, you can see just that little bit, just that 1/8 of an inch right there. So I'm going to have to trim these two off 1/8 of an inch. Bring over a rotary cutter and a ruler. Didn't plan on that. There we go. Alrighty. Now, I am going to just angle this down a little bit. You can see what I'm doing here. Just going to stretch it out. This is one of those rulers that has the the gritty filliness on the back of it. It really grips the fabric well. I really love these. There we go. That's all lined up. I'm just going to trim that off. See, that's all I had to trim, just that little sliver. And we're good to go. Now, let's hope we don't do it again. But here's my colors so far. Woohoo. Okay, so now I'm going to open it up and put it under the foot. And I'm going to take my time. Thought I had the last one right, but okay, so that's one out of 3. This is round number 4. We're getting ready to start. And I'm just going to kind of open it up as I go, and I'm going to keep this edge right here pointed towards me as I pull it down into the floor. And that way it will line up. Okay. I will answer the questions in just a moment. I'm going to focus on this really intently so I don't get a knot in the end on this row here. Okay, see how much quicker that was? Okay, so I'm just going to line those up, and then I'm going to look up here because I saw some comments coming in. Yes, it's usually in that third row where I get that twist. Good morning, Tanya. So, yeah, Linda, this ruler, it's double-sided, so one side is slick, okay? And the other side, and it's got black printing on this side. When you flip it over, it's yellow, and it's called Reverse a Rule. And it is made by, right here is the name on it. Oops. I think it is made by Quilters Select, though, quite honestly, because I have another one that has this on it, and it's a Quilters Select ruler. Love those. This is all rough, like sandpaper. The entire side is. When you lay that on your fabric to rotary cut, it is not going to move one bit. It will not slip. Okay. So, going to start round number 4. Here we go. Get those edges lined up nice and neat. Okay. I'm going to get it started. And then we're off. I think after this one I've only got 2 more runs to make, and this one will be done. The first one of the day. Woohoo! And it's going right along now. Boy, howdy. Okay. Okay, I need coffee. Oh, I just saw it. you can see my newest yoga pants I made. That's what I got done yesterday. So I had to change the needles because of my elastic. I tried a new method for putting elastic on. I really like the result of it. Okay. So I have a lot of new content coming up, not only for our Baby Lock Angels, Altair Angels group, but also for YouTube. I'm going to start doing a lot more filmed and edited videos, especially for machine-specific things. In addition to my live streams on Facebook are not going away. And I am going to be doing more live streams here on YouTube as well. And then I can explore some of the other things and share some of the other things that I love to do, such as weaving and spinning and all that fun stuff. Hope everyone is having an awesome Saturday. Does anybody have any plans for today? It is beautiful and sunny here, but it is so cold. It is really cold. Very cold. The sun is shining bright though. I can take the cold as long as I see some sun. No twisty in this one. I didn't think it would. Alrighty. Now I'm just going to finger press this top edge where this will fold over. Let me get up a little closer. It'll be easier to do. There we go. All right, that is the end of round number 4. And there's just 2 more to go. So in total, there are actually 6 steps to making this. in total. Okay, I'm going to lay this out flat before I snippy snip. And yes, I could use a rotary cutter and a ruler, but you know what? Then I wouldn't get to use my beautiful, my favorite Tula Pink shears, which I dearly love. And there we go. Okay. There's that one. Now, once again, we're going to line them up for the next row. That under there. So these are 8 wide now, and remember we're going to end up with 32. When I sew this one together, that will be 16 wide, and one more will make 32. And that will give you approximately around a 51, 52 inch by 64, 65 inch quilt top. Just opening this one up as I go. Almost there. Back to the top. Alrighty. Now, line them up and get started on round number 5. There's my trimmings. Not much. They're just like threads. They're so thin. Okay. Now this run's only like 100, 102 inches, something like that. Come on, there you go. Sometimes you just got to talk to it to get those edges to line up. You just got to talk nice to it sometimes. Give it a little sweet talking. Okay. There we go. There we go. If you have a lot of weight hanging off the table, it can actually create what's called drag, and it will pull your fabric to one side as you're sewing. Same thing when you're free motion quilting, so that's not a good thing to have happen. That's why I like to fiddle with it just a little bit in my lap. That keeps the weight of it off of the, greatly reduces the drag while you're sewing, so to speak. That is actually what it's called. Okay. Come on, you. Giddy up and go. One thing I love about piecing quilt tops on a serger, well, there's more than one thing. A, you have an endless bobbin because your bobbin is whatever is on a cone of thread. And the thread I have on, you have at least a 2,000 yard bobbin. So it's my most favorite thing about it. Not the most. Another equally important thing is that when you serge piece a quilt top, it's covering all the edges, so you're not going to get any raveling. It protects the edge, all the raw edges in the piecing from starting to ravel. I mean, and that's important because a lot of us will make a bunch of quilt tops, and it might be a couple years before we actually get one quilted out of our stack of tops. And that's where that really comes important as well. A, I think it's faster. And B, it is nice that the built-in knife cuts off all your thread tails and stuff like that. So that's important. And while I'm doing a 4-thread overlock, there are other setups you can use to do this with. So this one I have done with a 4-thread overlock. The next one I am going to do, let's see here, what do I want to do with the next one? And round 4 is now done. Round 5 is done. I have one more round and this quilt top will be complete. Okay. So, I'm now going to just finger press this one out, because then I'm just going to cut it with my scissors. And you know what? You might not believe it, but it gives a really accurate cut, a good straight cut. Just by making sure that you finger press this right here. Now, the whole goal of this for me is to not have to continuously take breaks to iron. That's the beauty of a jelly roll quilt. If you want to, you can do that. I know this is probably killing some of you, seeing me not press in between steps. When you do yours, you can do it any way you want to. But I'm just trying to show you to think outside the box a little bit, because traditionally in quilt making, you press between every step. If you don't do that, the only person that's going to know is you. Okay? I do press it, but I press these after I have completely pieced the top. So here's what it's looking like so far. One more row to go. One more round, and this one will be finished. So, I'm just going to put it in the floor. Prop this up. Then I'm going to find my other edge. Okay. To bring up here to the top. Okay. Oh, wait a minute now. That's okay. Funny how that one worked out. This will have the same fabric all the way across the center. And that's okay. Yeah, that works. You just never know until you sew these together. You can try to pre-plan the layout all you want, but there's always going to be little surprises when you piece one of these as far as that goes. I found just to go with the flow, let serendipity happen. And that's a good thing. Serendipity is a good thing. This is my last run. Woohoo. And to meet my 8 quilt top goal, I'm ahead of schedule. I got that number by allowing 2 hours per top. As you can see, it's 23 minutes before the hour, 10 o'clock where I'm at. And I'm going to have one done in under 2 hours, about an hour and 45 minutes or a little less than that. Can't beat that. I mean, you could. Excuse me. That, and it's not officially done yet. I have to cut this last cut across the top here. Okay. And this is actually the sides of the quilt where all these strips, where I'm cutting this at. It's actually the sides. And you know, once it's quilted, or once you've pressed it, you can square it up if you want to. There'd be very little to do. You can actually do that squaring up process on these. I do it after it's quilted because you got to square it up then anyway. So just quilt it out, square it up, and then bind it. Unless you're going to add a border onto it, which is totally feasible to do. Then you'd want to square it up good before you added a border, before you quilted it. Angle this over. There we go. And just up to this last line, you snip that fabric to right there and stop. Okay? Do not clip into the seam line. When you open it up, okay, are you ready? Quilt number 1 for today. Quilt top number 1, people. Woohoo! Oops. Let me get my... There we go. I'm going to back up this camera. Raise it up a little bit. There we go. Okay. Quilt top number 1 on the SERGE-A-THON. Is that right? Yep. I was off somewhere because it's not quite the right size it should be, but that's okay. I think, no, it's right. Let me do a quick measurement here. Let's see what this is. We'll do an approximation measurement. Nope, that's right. It just, gosh and golly, didn't look quite right for some reason. 24, 48. Yep. Okay, quilt top number 1 is complete. Alrighty. Now I gotta go grab some more fabric, and we will be doing another one. I'm just gonna lay this right here. I'm gonna take a quick restroom break,